That's what we do.
So this is in like for at least 2 weeks.
One thing I
It's still not because we gotta do it. So there's more to do. Yeah. Just trying to do my part, man.
So that's good.
Yeah, anyway, man, we're gonna check that place out.
DeMario.
Please approach the horseshoe. Yes.
What's up, bro? Huh? Okay. Except new stuff? Oh, okay. Cool. You got it now? Oh, okay.
So five of them are in supervisors. And
Good evening. I would like to call the Peoria Public School Board of Education meeting for November 13th, 2023 to order. Would you please, Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Costick. Here. Mr. Claus.
Here.
Mrs. McConnell.
Here.
Dr. Ranking. Here. Mrs. Ross. Here. Mr. Wilson.
Here.
President Murphy.
Here.
We have 7 present.
Thank you. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
States of America.
and to the republic
And to the republic for which it
one
stands,
nation,
one nation, under God, indivisible,
and justice
with
for
liberty,
all.
justice for all.
Thank you. And before we begin, I would just like to point out, who do we have on this side? Who is this? Raiders.
Harold B. Dawson?
Harold B.
Yeah, the Raiders.
Oh, the Raiders. Okay, yep. I'd like to point out to my left up here, we have Harold B. Dawson, who did the beautiful fall boards here. And there's some great pictures. If you can't see them from where you're sitting at, please come up and take a look at them after the meeting. And then up here to my right, we have Annie Jo Gordon up here. Also with some great colorful pictures up here. Make sure you guys, if you're able to, stop up here, take a look at some of these pictures. They put a lot of work into these and making sure that our boards always look so nice for our meetings. So thank you to... Oh, they do. Yeah, that's right, actually. The 7 mindsets are actually focused and highlighted here in the middle board up there as well. So if you get a chance, stop up here and take a look at them after the meeting. We also have a new student board member here with us today, Kai Shipman. So welcome and thank you so much for coming in here. Do you want to tell a little bit about what school you go to and unmute your microphone? There you go. And what grade?
Yeah, thank you. I'm a Richwoods senior.
Okay, very nice. Where are you going to go to school?
Next year, I'm hoping to go to school at U Chicago.
Nice, very nice. Well, congratulations. Thank you for joining us. And I think it was, Halima.
I think Halima wants to go there.
Is that where she's thinking about going to as well? All right. Very good. All right, thank you. All right. Let me see here. Let's see. Okay, moving on to announcements. Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, President. Thank you, President Murphy. Fall Classic Chess Tournament. Franklin Primary will be holding the annual Fall Classic Chess Tournament this Saturday, November 16th. Students can register at www.franklinchess.org or at the door. Chess teams and individual students from across the city are invited to attend and compete. Also, this Friday at Mark Bill's from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock p.m., coaches can bring teams or students can come individually to Mark Bill's. No scores, games will not be rated, just fun playing chess with other new schools and clubs from the area. Pizza will be provided, concession snacks available for purchase, no cost to attend. Also, this week, the GPCF Hope Chess Club, who has been online since COVID, will be meeting in person this Friday at Mark Bill's from 6 o'clock to 8:30 p.m. This is a great opportunity for those who have been playing for a while. And major shout out to Emily Dawson from Mark Bill's. Liberty and Elise Fort Allen chess coach for her role in continuing to further the game of chess for our students.
Thank you. Mr. Klaus?
Whittier Literacy Around the World event on Friday, November 17th. Kindergarten and third grade students from Whittier will walk to Bradley University for Literacy Around the World Day. Students will participate in various activities surrounding literacy that represent our world. There will be games, dancing, and more.
Mrs. Costick.
Good evening. Progress reports. The second progress report grading period ends next Tuesday, November the 21st. Progress reports will be sent home on Wednesday, November 29th. Thank you.
Ms. Ross?
Grandparents' Week. Peoria Public Schools is celebrating Grandparents' Week from November 13th through the 17th throughout the week. Schools will be inviting grandparents to fun breakfasts and lunches in recognition of the special week.
Mr. Shipman?
D2 informational meeting. The last informational meeting to register for the diploma/degree program is at 5 p.m. on Wednesday, November 15th at the administrative building. The D2 program allows high school students to graduate with a high school diploma and associate degree. Parents and guardians must attend at least one informational meeting to enroll their student.
District Special Education Family Forum. A District Special Education Family Forum will be held this Thursday, November 16th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at Treewind School. This is a chance for all parents and guardians who have students with IEPs or 504 plans to connect and discuss important topics. Childcare and dinner will be provided. Thanksgiving break. Thanksgiving break is from November 22nd through 24th. All offices will be closed on November 23rd and 24th.
Thank you. Manual Ramilly Thanksgiving and Fine Arts Expo. Manual High School is hosting a Ramilly Thanksgiving Fine Arts Expo this Thursday, November 16th from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. Students will be showcasing their work through musical performances from the choir, drumline, and orchestra. Dinner will also be provided. Okay.
Thank you, President Murphy. November 15th is the School Board Members' Day. Tonight is my opportunity to thank our school board members on behalf of all of the staff of Peoria Public Schools and our community for providing a local voice for our community's education decisions. We appreciate you for donating your time for this community and giving your commitment towards making Peoria Public Schools a welcoming, safe place for our students to achieve their dreams. I want to personally thank each and every one of you for all that you've done and continue to do for Peoria Public Schools. So there is a nice little certificate. Mr. Claus, you can take one, and one for Ms. Wilson and President Murphy. There's a nice certificate. You can frame it and put it in a favorite part. And additionally, there's a beautiful umbrella. It's amazing. When you open it, it does say Peoria Public Schools School Board Member. It's pretty fancy. So I have one for each board member. So thank you again. I know sometimes people say you pay them too much, but we know you're getting not a penny. But thank you for all that you do for our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very much appreciate it. All right, moving along here. We have our Remarkable Spirit Award. Up next, so Dr. Wood.
Good evening, President Murphy, Vice President Ranking, distinguished board members, Dr. Karat, and distinguished guests. I'd like to ask Principal McGinnis to join me at the stage or the podium. All right. And Dr. Coleman, you're a part of this too. Come on up. While I was a high school teacher, I was a track coach for 2 years. And during that time, I learned the true definition of the word selflessness. Take that to times 25, which is unimaginable to me, and we have the career of Coach Mike Lawless. I cannot imagine 25 years of selflessness. He started out coaching in 1968. He has been the head boys track coach at Lee Grade School, Spalding, Richwoods, Mark Bills, and Peoria High. He's also been the head cross-country coach at Spalding, Peoria High, and then he's been the assistant boys track coach at Peoria High. He's also served as a basketball coach and a football coach. He's just an all-around coach. Phil Jackson has nothing on him. Neither does any other coach, obviously, in the NFL. He's also served as the state director for cross country, and he has had several conference champions, sectional champions, and this is the good part. He's actually had state champions in 1996 for the shot put, in 2002 for the long jump, in 2001 for the 300-meter hurdles, in 2012 for the shot put, and in 2013 for the shot put. It takes a special coach to produce champions. He's also had dozens of state track medalists and track relay teams, and then just all state cross-country runners. And so recently, Coach Lawless was inducted into the Hall of Fame for the Illinois Track and Cross Country Coach Association. The track coaches who recommended him actually ran for him. And it takes a special person to not only coach, but to produce other coaches as well. And the thing that stood out that they said about him is that it is all about the kids. So at this time, please join me in celebrating a coach of over 5 decades, Coach Mike Lawless. If any of you all have ever been at a track meet, whether it's track or cross country, you'll know that those track meets last all day. And then after the track meets, you get the pleasure of taking all the children home, making sure they eat. So it's more than just coaching. It is giving your life for others to ensure that they have the opportunity to use their talents and show them and display them. And not only was he an awesome track coach, but he was a really great teacher too. So Coach Lawless, on behalf of the Peoria Public Schools Board of Education, Dr. Karat, and our entire school community, and dare I say Peoria, because 5 decades is just a long time. You have an influence and an impact that goes beyond the track. And so we thank you for your life and for your influence.
I'd like to say a few words. I'd like to thank the board for the time to recognize my induction to this Hall of Fame. It's been humbling and also very joyous. A lot of fun. Secondly, I first taught at Lee Grade School and coached in 1968. I spent 2 years there. I began to realize in a short time the fans of Southside had adopted me. I was now a Southsider. They changed my life. They opened my eyes. I'd like to also thank all the kids and students. I love teaching as much as coaching, to be honest with you. For all the kids, all those years inspired me and enriched my life. And also for giving so many kind acts and deeds of kindness for me was deeply appreciated. Before this, I was eating dinner with my wife, and I gave part of my speech. I'm going to talk about her a bit. And she said, no, you can't do that. I said, well, you get no choice. It's going to be rather short. I'd like to thank Kay. We've been married 48 years. She has been the rock of our family. And we call ourselves, we have 4 young people. And so it's the Kay care her and Mike Lawless family. And so, Kay, I love you, and thank you, everybody, for this recognition. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Coach, for your time and everything that you've put for the students and families at Peoria Public School. Thank you. Let's see here. Moving on, we need Anna Rose.
Good evening, Dr. Karat, President Murphy, and honorable board members. I like to call it this time the pride of the Southside Principal, Fabian Daniels, and Antoinette Shire to come up for recognition. 20 years ago, Mrs. Daniels and I interviewed Antoinette to be part of the Harrison Community Learning Center staff. When we interviewed her, we knew that we were adding on a great person to be part of the staff. She is not only the ESL teacher for the building, she's also a motivator, creator, and she is always enthusiastic about getting things going and including everybody in the school, not only the ESL students. Last year, we were running into trouble where the kids coming in as a 5th and 6th grader not having enough English to transition in the regular program, we decided to come up with some strategy to make sure we were providing success for those students. So this year, I created a platform where the students are transitioning from the 7th and 8th grade so they're able to go into high school to be successful. She is one of my ESL teachers that provides 90 minutes of ELA and provides intensive ESL to get those students ready and prepared in English proficiency for those skills when they get to high school. I also am very thankful that she embraces culture because her ideas and creativity always outshine and always involve everybody around her. She's a great person and a great leader and a wonderful teacher. I'd like to invite Mrs. Daniels to add to some of the things that I mentioned.
Good evening. This is a shock to Mrs. Shire, but she is well deserving of this. We have started the project-based learning at our building, and Mrs. Shire came back and was like, we would like to do this across the entire school. So we just came up with something, and she did a remarkable job on making sure that every grade level, every student, just not our ESL students, participated in our project-based learning. And now she has all these little trinkets in our mailboxes where we're going to start our next project base for, what's that one? 7 Mindsets. So she's doing that and having not only our staff, but our students and our community get involved in the 7 Mindsets. And she is just one of a kind. She stays late. She screens every student in this across the district from AJG to Treewind to Roosevelt, but she does it with love. So this is something that she deserves, and time is due for you.
So Antoinette, on behalf of Peoria Public Schools, we want to present you with this award for your dedication to students and your hard work in our community. Thank you so much.
Wow, not expected at all. I'm blessed to work in District 150, and especially blessed to have Mrs. Rose as my Yale director. But I'm so grateful to be at Annie Jo Gordon and have the leadership of our principal, Mrs. Daniels, our vice principals, and the family that we have there. That's what makes this job so wonderful and so easy to do, when you have a family to back you up and to help you. And thank you for this. Thank you.
Don't leave yet. We need a group photo.
Oh, sure. Thank you very much, and congratulations on your well-deserved award. And while they're getting their picture, we will have Mr. Chris Rowetter.
Good evening, President Murphy, Vice President Dr. Ranking, distinguished board members, Superintendent Karat, CFO and Board Treasurer, Mr. Willis, and Board Secretary, Ms. Ross. I just want to start by saying it is a great time to be part of PPS. It really is. You know, we have just over 3,000 employees in the district, so many amazing people. I'm here to recognize one of them. You all, we have a real rock star in the room tonight. Miss April Jackson is a paraprofessional at the Elise Fort Allen Academy. If you've ever seen her in action at EFA, you will know that she is truly adored by students and staff. Her actions do not go unnoticed. For example, I've personally seen her bring her car full of our international teachers to a professional development here in the administration building and sit through the professional development and take them home afterwards. Ms. Jackson, I just wanted to take a moment to let you know that you are truly loved and appreciated. And by the way, I surprised her. I told her daughter was getting an award tonight.
Oh my goodness.
Wait, let's go.
Okay, I didn't expect this, to be honest, because I've been in the district for quite some time, and it's really not about me or anything that I do. I've always done things to give back. So as a product of Peoria Public Schools, I told myself that one day I will work in Peoria Public Schools, and I will go to each school that I graduated from. So I graduated from Elise Fort Allen Academy, which was Roosevelt, magnet school at the time, back in the day, and then I graduated from Manual High School. And so I got to be able to serve at both schools and continue, I say, the South Side legacy, because I grew up on the South Side coming from Chicago. And so I thought it was important for our students to see someone in our community say that they care about them. So I didn't expect this award for spirit, because what I do is from the heart. And so yes, I love J1 teachers, and I do believe in what you've decided to do to bring them here so that our kids can see another culture and another environment of learning. So yes, I'm shocked, because he told me my daughter was getting an award, and I said, "Oh my goodness, that's so good. This is what my son's doing. This is what my daughter doing. My grandson did," and I didn't even know. So I just want to thank Peoria Public Schools for what you do, and continue to do for our students here. In every jurisdiction, as far as every district is concerned, and I will continue to give what I can to every student as I continue to serve Peoria Public Schools. But thank you to my family and to Mr. Rueda, and of course, the board. Thank you very much.
Congratulations on your very well-deserved award as well. Moving on, we're going to district presentations. Dr. Coleman, you're up.
I have a presentation. I'm going to bring that up. All right. Thank you. I am excited to introduce Cartwheel Teletherapy Mental Health Services to Peoria Public Schools. I see this partnership as an additional resource for our students and families with therapeutic services. This service will include or be in addition to our other school-sponsored and wraparound connected supports to address anxiety, stress, depression, grief, low self-esteem, self-harm, anger, family, relationships, and more. I see that this is a necessary service. Over 45% of the referrals received at the Wraparound Center include the need for student and family counseling. Our current partners, Family Corps, OSF Strive, and our LCPC, Bernice Gordon Young, they provide counseling for, last school year, they provided counseling for over 600 students. Due to the demand, OSF Strive is extending their therapeutic services into other schools. Children's Home has had 436 therapeutic sessions with students, with the top 4 presenting issues being self-esteem, family and home issues, peer conflict and harassment, and disruption in the classroom. With Cartwheel, we will receive a unique partner due to their flexible telehealth options for timely access and services for our students. Cartwheel is a trusted mental health partner for schools and families. We have met with Cartwheel Services several times about their rapid access. They will see students within 7 to 10 days, their tiered care, their one-on-one therapy, skills groups, and their one-on-one parent guidance. It's 100% telehealth, and it's available from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. It's available to all of our students regardless of their insurance. They have healthcare workers who speak 6 languages. It's an in-house medical team that works with our team throughout the year, and they coordinate care to support our families with specialized needs. Within Peoria Public School, administrators or their designee will submit a referral to the program manager. That referral will then be turned over to Cartwheel, and within 2 business days, they will collect clinical context, scheduling, and insurance information. They will assess our students. They will create a personalized care plan. And then after that care plan, they will have like one-on-one therapy for about 2 to 6 months. And then after that, there will be ongoing supports provided to the student and their family after that service. Our Cartwheel team are all residents of Illinois who have experience working with students. Cartwheel's interdisciplinary care team include mental health specialists, psychiatrists, psychiatric nurses, nurse practitioners. They will conduct student and family assessments, develop care plans, deliver weekly evidence-based therapy via telehealth. They will prescribe medications and facilitate transitions to specialized long-term health care as needed. With Cartwheel, we have 24-hour referral process, 7 to 10 days of working with families, an average of 10 to 12 engaging sessions with parents. 75% of the students who have completed the therapy with Cartwheel has said that it has been successful. There's an 85% of students enjoy therapy with Cartwheel, and 100% of the partners have renewed their services. Do you have any questions about Cartwheel and the service that they will be bringing to the Wraparound Center?
Dr. Ranking.
On this slide, it's in the fine print, and maybe this is just what Cartwheel provided you, so correct me if I'm wrong. But on on a couple slides ago, you said it would be 0 cost to our students.
Correct.
And on this one, it says that some students decline because they can't afford the deductible. We won't have a deductible.
Correct.
Okay.
That will not apply to Peoria Public Schools.
Great job, Dr. Wilson. Dr. Coleman, I know we've worked on this together. Sorry about that. Great job. I just wanted the board to know that this is an action item on tonight's agenda. So Dr. Coleman wanted to provide you with some additional information in case you have any additional questions. I think it's a nice addition to what we're currently doing. We don't have the telehealth health component, and this one will be able to be a lot more flexible and be able to sort of, parents can, if they're, they want to get a later time, so there's more option for our families and we can serve more students.
And with some of our partners, there is a process or waiting or maybe even the insurance, but with this telehealth, again, it's very flexible. They can provide services anytime between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. for the families.
Yep, and then one quick thing, it will be funded through ESSA. I just wanted to mention that as well for the next 2 years. Thank you.
Mrs. Costick, your mic's off.
Okay, Dr. Coleman, you had indicated that it's, the hours are 7 to 7 Central Standard Time. Does that include weekends?
No, it does not.
Okay. I noticed in the contract that it indicated that it would take, for the school year 23-24, 50 students and
Correct.
families. Okay, and 24-25, 100. So is that a total of 150?
Correct.
Okay. All right, so as students and families drop out, do they take more in to maintain that number?
That I'm not sure of. I know that we've asked to contract with 50 for this semester, so I mean, the second semester of the school year. I'd have to ask if people, as they progress, but they follow up, so it's ongoing services, so my guess is that, because they will still check in from time to time, so my guess is that no, but I can definitely get a concrete answer.
Mrs. Ross.
It was indicated as I went through their background and everything that when we talked about the 50 students for the first year. Most recently, we had a program that didn't pan out, but my major thing I want to ask is, implies that it's over the telephone.
Correct, and they do, you can do it over the computer as well.
So, so the students would be, who would make the initial? They will make the initial call to a student? What if a student doesn't have a phone number?
To the family, and if there are any kind of barriers, we will, at the Wraparound Center, assist. They can have the therapy at their school, maybe after, like when school dismisses, they can go to a counselor's office or something like that. So I would talk, or they can always come to the Wraparound Center. So we would try to remove any barriers as far as communication is concerned.
Yeah, as a therapist myself, I find it really hard to build a relationship with the student on the phone. But maybe that's the future. I don't know.
It's not mandatory, so this is just another option. So I'm excited because there are some students with high anxiety that don't want to talk face-to-face, would rather do it over the phone. As you mentioned, the new age. So I think it's just another option. Again, we'll present it to families. I had a high school senior today, and his mother asked for some services. This might be perfect for them. Because he's an athlete, so he's busy, so this might be perfect, but we'll offer it to them, and if not, we'll find something that works for them.
Okay, I just know that we have a lot of money invested in therapeutic services, and so I just don't want us to waste any more money.
Agreed.
Any other follow-up from any other board members? So I just want to say thank you for getting this. As someone who has a child who goes through and needs some of these services, I can't say thank you enough for doing research with this. I can tell you that there's not a lot of options for families in Peoria to get in front of somebody face-to-face anyways. So even if we go through the traditional routes of going through insurance, going through your preferred care provider, the wait time is extremely long. I have waited months before to get appointments and do all of that, go to the hospital, and you sit in a room and they wheel in a computer screen and the doctor's not even in there anyways. So telehealth is definitely something that allows for families to get services instead of having to wait on those long lines, and the fact that we're going to now be able to offer that in school, in the school building for 50 families, I don't think you'll have a hard time finding 50 families that will be able to utilize that in 100 next year, sadly. But thank you very much for getting this put together. I did also do some research on Cartwheel and actually spoke to a child psychiatrist that I know personally as well, and they highly recommended the program. So thank you.
We're excited about it.
Just wanted to add as well, one of the things that I believe is a lot of our kids, they're involved with traumatic situations, and Dr. Coleman is the director of the Wraparound Center, and they go through quite a bit of traumatic experiences with no therapy, they don't have someone to help them, and that's not good at all. Therapy is very important. Counseling, those types of supports are very, very important. I would like us to identify every kid in our system who needs some type of support, whether it's in person or the telehealth. So, as you said, this is just another option as we kind of peel back and, just be deliberate about and intentional about helping our children. Because, again, thank you, President Murphy, you're right. There, also, Dr. Coleman, you mentioned there are long waiting lists as well.
Ms. Costick.
You just indicated that, some of our children do not have any supports or anything like that. Just kind of makes me wonder then, what is the role of the children's home as well as the role of family core if you're indicating that
Yeah.
the child is without some kind of help,
Yep.
therapeutic?
Yep. Thank you, Ms. Costick. So we have 5 therapists that we're subcontracting with from Children's Home, and they serve about 250 children. And in our system with close to 13,000, that's not even 10%. So one of the things Dr. Coleman and I and a couple of our team members, Dr. Bond, have talked about is trying to find, and some people don't self-identify because they don't think, that's even an option for them. And so if we can help by talking more to families and educating them, and that to me, I think really it's 222. We were looking at those numbers last week. Ms. Costick, I think we have many, many, many more children in our system that need someone to talk to and provide strategies on how to cope.
And I would also say, just to kind of piggyback off that, there's a long waiting list for some of
Yes.
those people to get in, even with the few that we have, the 5 people that we have, I know. And the fact that this organization actually can also prescribe the medication, whereas like Family Core and that they
And
can't.
the therapy, yep.
So that's a big difference in that piece alone.
Okay, but I don't want to just keep dragging this out, but I guess my concern would be, as you're indicating that, that the number of students that we have that are in need of therapeutic services, I mean, if we're not reaching them with the 3 agencies that we are,
Yep.
is it more than 3 agencies?
Well, actually, some of them are brought in to do Tier 1 work, some of them are brought in to do Tier 2 work. This is Tier 3 work, one-on-one counseling, and really, for the most part, Children's Home is the only one with the licensed therapist who, and Dr. Coleman, feel free to chime in. So I was going to say that, so thank you for reminding me. So when we talk about licensed therapists, it's really Children's Home. That's why we brought them in to help us to do what we call the out of our multi-tier system of support. So it's the Tier 3 work, which is one-on-one conversation and having, so we only have one organization, so this would be another option. Dr. Coleman, you
And we
want to?
just recently, we have a grant through the city where we are able to hire 3 licensed therapists to work with families and children as well, K through 4. So we are also working on identifying those students. And within our district, we only have 3 licensed therapists in our district. So we're also reaching out to see if there are others, people that have that licensure in our district. So we do have that grant. That's something totally separate. So I am continuing to investigate all kind of ways that we can meet the needs of our children. And the biggest thing is communicating. We have counselors in every building, so that helps. So Again, the family therapy is new and big, and that's what the city grant and this offers, because oftentimes we work with the students in our buildings, but then they go back to an environment that doesn't support that. So if we can get the families involved, that's awesome.
I want to clarify, did you say that that Children's Home only has 5, but we pay them over $800,000, $900,000? What are we paying for?
We're actually paying $285,000 for 5 therapists, and we're getting each therapist at about $57,000. They're a little higher, but they use Medicaid to subsidize. So what
are the what are the other people doing from Children's Home?
No, just 5. We just have 5. So 57 times 5 is about 280. It's about that amount it's not.
So we cut it down because the contract that they had was over $800,000.
It used to be a long time ago, but workforce challenges, shortages, so we have 5.
So Family Core has none now? Because when they first came in, they had
Not therapists. We didn't have therapists that I'm aware of. Not Tier 3.
Really?
We have quite a bit, but they're doing Tier 1 and Tier 2. They do a lot of home visits for us, work with attendants.
They do anger management.
What do you-
Anger management.
A lot of anger management, Tier 2, small groups.
Okay, well, that's nice to know, because
I know, Ms. Ross, I was like you as well. I'm like,
I
did the math last week. And finance verified it for me. So we're down. We were up, but we've gone.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Moving on to our 2023 academic update. I'm sorry, tax levy first. Mr. Willis.
There it is. I didn't recognize the other. If you flip to the second page, tonight we will present to you our tax levy recommendations. Just in the way of process, it's very similar to the budget process. We spread the tax levy work over 2 board meetings. The first board meeting, which is tonight, we give you a presentation, walk through the process with you, key points, key terms, et cetera. The next board meeting, which would be in December, we'll ask for your approval of tax levy recommendations. At that time, we'll also ask for approval of abatement resolutions, which basically keep us from collecting additional extra taxes on the county school facility sales tax bonds. But in the way of process, this schedule just gives you an idea about the various terms connected with the whole tax levy discussion. And we share these definitions and terms every year. If we go to the next slide, basically this is the timeline process, which tonight is the presentation. We basically estimate what it is that we will need for school operations, tax monies, which would come in first in July or June of 24, the second wave September of 24. This estimate by law has to be done 20 days before we have the public hearing and board action on what we recommend, which is the December meeting. If the tax levy recommendation that we submit exceeds 5%, then we have some additional steps to go through. What we are submitting for your approval in December does not exceed 5%. So that step 3 piece, we won't need to address at all. And for a number of years, we have not had to address. Step 4, the tax rate hearing, that's on the December board meeting. And then our request for your approval. We take the information that's been presented, we've had hearings on and approved, we take those final documents, resolutions, et cetera, to the county clerk's office after your approval, and those are due to the county clerk's office last Tuesday in September. In terms of the December. In terms of the next slide, in terms of the process, we first have a conversation with the county assessor. In this case, this year, the estimate for property values for the coming tax year is an increase of about 6.5%. That will take our total equalized tax value, property tax value for the district to over 1.4 billion. Our tax, property taxes, property values have not exceeded 1.4 billion since 2010. The estimate of 1.44 billion is the highest property values that we've had in the district ever, which economically is a good sign. And so what we've done is made estimates by operational area of the district of what it is that we'll need in terms of revenue. And if you look on the next page, in terms of first where most of our monies come from out of the operating budget, this gives you a highlight, and you can see the dark blue is property taxes, and the operating funds that makes up almost a quarter of our receipts. Evidence-based funding, of course, is a good chunk. We right now receive quite a bit of money in federal revenue, mainly because of the ESSERs. And that skews the property value number down. Actually, it skews down the evidence-based funding number as well in terms of what funds our operating budget. So when we look at this slide next year, you'll see higher percentages on the property taxes for the operating budget and higher percentages for evidence-based funding. If we go to the next slide, this is where you can see that the property values, that very last bar, represents the estimate for the next tax year, 2023 tax year. And you can see that that's well over $1.4 billion. And over the last couple of years, those values have been coming up. The property values have been coming up. If we go to the next slide, this basically is a recap of the tax levy process and where we ended last year. And if you look at the bottom right green column, we extended, or the county extended on our behalf, $73.5 million of levy, and that basically is tax revenue that goes to fund various operations. You can see that the education fund is the recipient of most of that. If you look at the bottom, you can the last two entries relate to our district debt, and then there are different amounts for various other aspects of our operation. For the 2023 tax year, which is our next slide, the estimate for our levy for the next tax year is $76.3 million, compared to that $73.5 million. That's a 3.81% increase. A lot of that is driven by the 6.5% increase that we anticipate in terms of property values. And this is how those calculations trickle out by various operational area. Transportation fund, for example, is where we, is the fund that takes care of getting students to and from school and all costs associated with that. O&M, or operations and maintenance, is facilities maintenance and upkeep, where we pay for custodians and that kind of thing. Bonds and PBC is where we pay for debt, et cetera. Education fund is where most of our employees are, most of our operational costs are, so most of our tax money would go to that particular area of operation. Next slide. We have about a little over $3.5 million in bonds that we pay year to year in connection with our 2017 sales tax projects that were approved by voters in 2016. You'll recall we sold bonds for those. That the revenue stream from the county sales tax actually pays for the bonds. Because of that, what we have to do is have you all pass resolutions to ensure that the normal way you pay those bonds off, which is the county takes the bonds that you have and levies so that those revenues are collected. We basically have to undo that because we're using sales tax money to pay for the bonds. That's why we'll do abatement resolutions in addition to the tax levy approval in December, so that we don't over-collect taxes for bonds that are funded with county sales tax money. And that is a quick overview of the whole tax levy process. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have. This is a routine PowerPoint presentation that we go through every year, routine process. I'll stop right now and entertain any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Willis. Do any board members have any comments or questions for Mr. Willis on his levy presentation?
You'll bring something to them December 11th.
Yes. There's a one-sheeter that is basically a resolution that takes these numbers and puts it in a standardized form that ISB, that's on the ISB website. And then there are three other resolutions which basically undo the taxes that would normally be collected on the sales tax, county sales tax bonds.
All right, thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Willis, for your presentation. Moving on now to the 2023 academic update from Superintendent Dr. Crott.
Yeah, I'll just go ahead and, Ms. Seipel. One quick thing is, just wanted to remind everybody that November 15th is School Board Members Day. So continue to show love to our school board members. And actually today is Kindness Day.
I saw that.
So Halima was hoping we'd get a little announcement about that, but I didn't see you today. So just a quick academic update. Michelle, we can, yes, a quick snapshot in terms of our district's demographics. As of a couple of days ago, we have, you can see our total number of students, 12,935 students, and you can see our low-income count, 76% chronic absenteeism, which is a huge challenge for us, 41% student mobility. And then on the left-hand side, my left, you can see our demographics as well, 57% Black, 19% white, and so forth, 13% Hispanic. Let's go to the next slide. That was an interesting observation from the team and I. With the exception of Chicago Public Schools, Peoria Public Schools is the only large K-12 school district in Illinois that serves a population, a diverse population, as diverse as we are, with a low income rate of 75%. So outside of Chicago, Peoria Public Schools is the only K-12 school districts in Illinois that serves a population with a low income rate of over 75. You may have some schools, right, Halima, maybe K-8, K-4, but not K-12. Thank you, Michelle. So just again, when I said academic update, a quick update to the board regarding the school report card, because this is all tied into that. Illinois State Board of Education, the way that they show growth is and student success. They have actually two ways of doing it. It says Illinois State Board multi-indicators of student success. There's a formula for high school, which is different for primary and middle. So for the high school, you get 100 points, right? You can see the pie, and the high school and the high school principals and their staff, they know that 50% of their points come from graduation rate. How are they doing with graduating their children? And then 15% from proficiency, 10% chronic absenteeism, climate survey, about 8% ninth grade on track, and science proficiency. But half of the points really come from graduation rate. So that's why we put a lot of attention on that. And so also I wanted to share with you the subgroups. There, you can, that's okay, Michelle, because it's on the other slide as well. All of the, you can see this where it says where I have student subgroups. I have all Black or African American, children of disability, Hispanic or Latino, and low income. All of those children in that subgroup must meet a certain cut score. Otherwise, you're either going to be comprehensive or intensive. So just kind of FYI for you on that. So this is, that's the indicator for student success. That's the formula that they use for elementary and middle schools. It's different from high schools. Remember, high schools, 50% graduation. This one, for that age, the younger ones and the middle school kids, 50% of the scores come from growth. How are we growing our kids? And I kind of actually like this pie from Illinois State Board of Education because it's what we call heterogeneous, or it's, they're definitely shooting for equity. It's not one size fit all. A long time ago when I was a principal, it was all about proficiency, ISAT, and over time they've changed that. So they're recognizing the challenge of the work and they're giving you points for different things. So it's not just, remember ISAT was really just about proficiency and grade level work. Thank you, Ms. Seipel. And just things have changed. Every year the state is changing, so it's really not apples and oranges necessarily, but it's close. So last year's, or 2022, their calculation were based on science. It was based on participation. So if, a large number of your kids or all of your kids participated, you got some scores, some points for that. This year it's based on proficiency. So that's very, very different. Participating, you have to not only participate, but you have to do well. You have to be able to do grade level work, and that's what proficiency is. Last time there were 4 designations, which you were aware of. This time there are 5 designations. They included intensive. And then last time designations were based on a single year's data. This time for some schools that were targeted or comprehensive, they went way back to 2018 to see how they fared, and then made a determination based on what the ranking, where they were in 2018. Ms. Seipel? I just wanted to pick up from where Dr. Coleman left off with the observation that I shared with you regarding Chicago and Thank you, Dr. Rankin. It's the work is, that's what keeps us going. It's a daily grind, I say all the time, and it's really, really good work because what we're doing is we're fighting for our children and we're figuring out what more can we do to support them. And board, you ought to be proud of all of the things that you've approved. The wraparound center, and we've already mentioned Family Core. You can see when we talk about serving the whole child, for PPS, truly that's what we're doing. And Dr. Coleman's presentation was just another aspect of that. Anger management, we have the food, the food pantry, the justice advocates. We have social workers there. We have, the piece that I'm really proud of since I've been here, we've had 13 new alternative learning options for our children, understanding that one size does not fit all. And then you can see the after school or during school supports, all the grants, SEL aids, that's something we've done maybe 3 years ago. You can see Ms. Ross, the children's home therapist. There are 5 of them. And as Dr. Coleman mentioned, we have 3 of our own, but it's not enough. So we're just adding and trying to add more services. There's yoga, there's meditation, high school coaches. A lot of that is the lights on, the after-school programs, Dr. G's work, writing those grants where Mr. Willis showed that the federal funding, those are from those grants. And overall, the district has 27 counselors, 20 social workers, and 14 psychologists, and also 40 school resource officers. So when we talk about doing all that we can to serve the whole child, I think that's just a tiny glimpse of what that entails and what that really means. So as we talk about how we're doing, a key takeaway for ELA, or English Language Proficiency, is 70% of our schools increased in ELA, grade level proficiency, and we saw growth in IAR by 4%. Now, this is a piece that we have to get better at. Proficiency is doing grade level work, and it's a challenge for us because when our kids come in, they come in at, a low level, and so we just have to work very, very hard. I'm having a conversation with Dr. Molson and Katie. We have about 300 children on a waiting list for pre-K programs, and we're putting our heads together to figure out how we can serve all of them. So that's the plan we're talking about. And I know we have a pre-K teacher, right, an excess pre-K teacher that we can open up another classroom and get maybe 20, 25 kids off that list. And so we always go back to the earlier we start, the better chances they have to, we know what the research shows when they have pre-K experience, how more prepared they are for kindergarten. And, let's go back, please, quickly. Just wanting to share with the board some ELA improvement strategies. The curriculum team, Amanda, Lindsay Baum, sorry. They're focused on critical benchmarks, which is really, really good. I really like that. What they should know by when, and we've gotten a significant amount of money from Representative Gordon Booth, and what we've done is we've added more tutors, we've added more parent navigators, we've added every kid, so the parent navigators are going to the home. There's a packet, there are the sight words, there are books in there, there's pencils in there, stuff that they can write in, and then just providing tips and encouraging the parents to help the kids practice at home. So that's already started, and about 2 weeks now, so I can't wait to see. I'm anticipating this is going to help us with our proficiency. And of course, we have a big push for not reading on grade level by the end of 3rd grade, but by the end of 1st grade. And all of those, we call it an acceleration initiative, an acceleration program. I believe that will help as well. And we also have a big focus on utilizing scientifically based reading strategies like the phonemic awareness, the phonics, going gangbusters on those to provide strategies for children to approach and attack words. So a lot more of that. Our next Parent University, Dr. Coleman is working on, it's the right to read, right? So we'll show that video to parents, and it's really inspiring and empowering for parents, so that you could see more focus on writing and so forth, emphasis on, so we can go ahead. So math proficiency, 56.5% of our schools increased. That we saw 2% growth in math versus ELA 4%. So we're going to still, and that's proficiency again, grade level work, and that's the piece that we're really pushing very hard on. And math, our math improvement strategies board, you agreed that the new teacher project, TNTP, they're doing really good work. I sat in on some of their professional development. There were about 20 teachers on the group that I sat in. They're asking questions, they're working together. So it's a really good collegial community, math community. So that's great. Our teachers really need that support. And you can see the new curriculum that you approved. last year and the year before, right? Then, of course, the algebra for all 8th graders next year, we're definitely going to unveil that. Ms. Donath is in charge of doing that work for us, and she's done a really nice job preparing the current 7th graders with, getting them ready for algebra for next year, all of the 8th graders for algebra for next year. I just wanted to show you the designations you can see, and thank you, Halima. I wanted to thank Halima. She was kind of my partner in crime, putting this presentation together. We wanted it to be concise, but yet informative. Did I send it to you? Did you get it? Okay, perfect. I wasn't sure if it went through. Fantastic. So you can see, and the way the state has it, it's all, it's alphabetized, but I said, let's organize it, Halima, by the designation. So you can see kudos to Reservoir. They've maintained their commendable again this year, and that's very hard, so that's awesome. You can see our commendable schools. Again, a big kudos to the high schools, and I know Dr. Coleman is not there, but she worked very, very, very hard on Peoria High, and they made it so for the first time, the 3 high schools are commendable. Peoria High is commendable, Richwoods is commendable, and Manual, of course, is commendable. And you can see Liberty, Charter Oak, Maud Sanders, Hines, Keller, Northmore, and Whittier commendable. Our 3 targeted schools you can see, Harold B. Dawson, Von Steuben, and Lincoln. They're targeted, and we have 5 comprehensive schools, Mark Bills, Rolling Acres, Sterling, Annie Jo Gordon, C.T. Vivian, and we have 4 intensive schools. Franklin, which we were really shocked about, so we're going to be doing some things with Franklin, because Franklin was commendable last year, but again, Franklin is one of those, they went back to 2018, and then they just dropped them 2 levels. Glen Oak, Elise Fort Allen, and Trewin are intensive, and there's school improvement plan, scorecard, and that type of work. So proficiency, you can see the 2-year trend. We're making growth. I mean, we're making progress from 13% to 15%, baby, but small, but we're making progress. We're heading in the right direction. And the same for, that's ELA, and the same for math, and that's proficiency. And proficiency, again, is grade level, right? Being at grade level or high. Disciple. Here's AIR proficiency again by this one is by grade level, from 3rd grade to 8th grade, and you can see for we understood the progression, and we were pleased with what we were seeing with the ELA, because there's been a lot of work and a lot of focus, new material, a lot of training. So kudos to the curriculum team. Understanding, you can see math. We have to definitely continue to be more aggressive with math as well, and the curriculum team is working on that. That's why we had that conversation about having a director over that department, which will provide more focused support, and we will see significant gains, because I'm expecting much more. And I know, of course, proficiency is much, much more. It's harder, but it definitely can be done with intentionality and making sure our kids are getting grade level work and rigorous work as well. And we have that conversation all the time. And then growth. We are proud of the growth. And as you saw earlier when I showed you the formula, we get 50% of your points, right, by growth. And so we're growing our kids. No matter where they come to us, you can see how PPS have fared from last year to 22 to 23. We've gone up for English language arts, and then 20 to 22 for mathematics. And you can see the state went down for math, and the state went down, but we're definitely heading in the right direction, and we're very, very proud of that. So we would definitely want our proficiency bars to be like this. So it's just, we're growing them, but we have to grow them faster. Thank you. So as I said, it's a daily grind, and it's pretty intense. And so we're focused on next steps for continuous improvement. Chronic absenteeism, once our designation came out, we saw pretty much across the board, our schools, for the most part, every building dropped, right, in that area. I would say for the most part, really every building. And that means, the kids have missed 18 or more days. And it's a national trend. They'll say, they just send the kids when they feel like, or kids decide when they want to come to school. So I feel really good about, we've had a lot of conversations, and we've brought in some individuals as well to help us. I know Ms. Brooks is fired up, Dr. Hassan is fired up, the principals are fired up, and we have, of course, Cheryl and Tom, who've been working with us for over 8 years, helping us with that. But we have some pretty cool things we're going to try with chronic absenteeism. I can guarantee you that that number will go up next year. A lot of interventions, a lot of tutoring. I think, how many tutors? 158 tutors in our system, between ICC's tutor, our tutors, and then a focus on, you can see more of the areas, next steps for continuous improvement, more PD for teachers, more supports, social emotional support, so that cartwheel was another, and then continuing to use innovation and new strategies to reach every kid. And just since July, we started, you can take a look at how many professional development opportunities outside of the contractual. So there's a lot of opportunities for teachers to learn more and collaborate and be part of a professional learning community, that for those sessions, CPR training, the 2 SIP days, I was really proud of the curriculum team. They had more than a dozen options of PD that teachers can select from across the district. So that was pretty cool to see. And so you can see, and then the last bullet, 2 PLCs per week for all K through 8 homerooms. And during PLCs, those could be used as short PDs as well, because professional development is job embedded and it's ongoing. So just to give you a look at new strategies to improve chronic absenteeism, and I wanted you to see the trend. And it's so interesting, 2020 there was no school, and 2020 had the best, right? So that's, it's kind of funny, but from 18 to 2023, and 2023, it's 40.5%, and that's way too high for us, for sure. So we have, and Dr. Molson, Dr. Molson, you have an amazing plan with you. You've already begun as well. Everybody, all the executive directors, have an amazing plan to tackle it. And we're looking at Tier 1 and Tier schools. I take my meetings, I meet with the executive directors once a week, and we literally, instead of meeting in the office, we will go to buildings. And so every week we're at a different building, and we sort of sit outside and just, while we're meeting, check out what's going on. And we're seeing kids 7:30, 7:35, 7:40. Kids are just trickling in, all like 10 o'clock. When it's time to come back here, they're still trickling in. So having conversations about that, a lot of conversations about transportation as well. Josh was part of our meeting Friday and had some good ideas. We're working on those. We're doing encouraging student voices. I know our executive directors and the principals are. I was at Rolling Acres this afternoon, and they were meeting. Mr. Barber was meeting with his ULT, and they talked about having a student committee to get their ideas, opinions, and maybe help them. They can provide some strategies as well, and and also we're getting some supports from Arawi, and they've hired some people who's working with Dr. Coleman at the wraparound center, and so that's just a little bit of some of the things we brainstormed. So there's some quick highlights, and you've probably seen those, some big takeaways that we're really super proud of, that we should be proud of. And you saw for high school, 50% of their points are graduation rates. So each high school, they have some specific intentional strategies to get the children back. And I know the alternative programming have helped as well. So even if you have someone who is involved with the criminal justice system, the justice advocates will go to court with them, re-enroll them back in school, and find a placement for them, whether it's weekend school, is it Knoxville, is it online, so they're not just, right, they're not just throwaway, but we're definitely helping them graduate and get those resources that they need. So you can see in 2011, we usually do 2015, but we have 2011, our graduation rate was 76%. 2023, our graduation is 81%. And so that is all the hard work of, I would say, the principals and their staff, for sure. And then let's go back. I want the board to see the credentials earned, because when I came back, I remember the community saying we need to expand Woodruff, we need to do more with Woodruff, not just focus on college, but careers as well. And so the work that Dr. G has been doing, which Dr. Hassan will be taking over, you can see the credentials that they're earning have increased significantly. Thank you, Michelle. And the same thing for freshmen on track as well, 2014 numbers. And, if we can get them to be promoted from freshman to sophomore, chances of graduating from high school have increased significantly. That's what the research shows. So we're just proud of that as well. 89% of our ninth graders. And then teacher retention have increased by 10% as well. And so in 2015, it was 78%, and this is all on Illinois State Board of Education's website. In 2023, it's 88%. And then just some quick, as I wrap up, advanced courses, those are really important as well, exposing kids to rigor and also preparing them for college. And AP courses in 2015, we offered 18 AP courses. In 2023, we're offering 25 AP courses. So we're again providing opportunities for our students. And then you can see students enrolled in dual credit continues to increase. So this year it's 267 versus last year 185. And career credentials, okay, that's repetitive. What was the takeaway at the bottom, Ms. Seipel? Can we go back one slide, please? Oh, okay. Student enrollment in AP and dual credit courses increased. Thank you. So we know that education is the greatest equalizer, and it's also a game changer. And so the work that we do for our children, regardless of their race, their ethnicity, economic status, the zip code, whatever station they are in life, we believe in Peoria Public Schools that they can achieve the American dream. So we're going to continue to fight for them, help every one of them defy the odds. We're going to continue to keep our eyes on the prize and keep plugging away for our children, knowing that it is possible, but it's a lot of work. And I feel very good with my team that we feel good about the strategies that we have. And I just wanted to close with these highlights. Congratulations to Ms. Martin, her students, her families, and all of the staff at Reservoir for maintaining their exemplary status. Congratulations to Maud Sanders for moving from comprehensive to commendable. Mr. Durr, he did it with his team, with his teachers. And so keep on keeping on, Mr. Durr. And he has a great personality. They love him. He's always smiling and always laughing and gives grace to everybody. Peoria High rose from targeted to commendable. That's Dr. Coleman's work. So Mr. McGinnis knows he has to maintain that or increase. And then Lincoln and Von Steuben rose from comprehensive to targeted, so they're heading in the right direction. So kudos to Mr. Bloomer and Ms. Nevitt, Mr. Bloomer and his team, all of his teachers and leadership team, and Ms. Nevitt, her teachers, leadership team. And then, of course, a big one is all of the high schools have earned commendable designation for the first time. So we're going to focus on chronic absenteeism, proficiency, and the other areas that I mentioned. But yeah, we're moving along. So that's my update. I'll take any questions.
Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Dr. Karat. That was a very comprehensive presentation. I appreciate all the information in it, and just want to say thank you to you and your staff for continuing to strive so that you can report that feedback of good feedback. I've been seeing all the media circulating around some of the things that you just spoke about. So thank you for that. I feel like there was something else I was going to say, but oh yeah. So Black History 365 and the financial literacy curriculum. I don't think I've seen the updates on there. Can you please just give a brief overview of Black History 365, which I believe it should be in the elementary schools at this point, and the financial literacy curriculum on that K through 12 aspect?
Yeah, so all of those are being implemented like English and writing, but if you want some numbers, we can have Dr. Hassan give a presentation next time around. But it's being implemented like any other curriculum.
Yeah, if we can get an update on that, that would be great.
So that we'll formalize it.
And Black History 365
Both of
as
them.
well.
Mhm.
Okay.
Any other?
And thank you, and it's a team effort, so we just
Yeah,
have
for
to
sure.
row in the same direction. And as I say, as a principal, I said it, and as superintendent, I'm saying it's a daily grind. And we just have to stay focused and keep plugging away, utilizing best practices.
Absolutely.
And being there,
I have a question for you. Thank you very much for the presentation. I know that, the community definitely is curious and wants to know how our schools are doing, so that was very comprehensive. I appreciate it. One of the questions I have basically on the transportation issue that we're focused, or that we see up here with the 40% chronic absenteeism, what seems to be the biggest hurdle that we're finding? Have we figured that out yet, what the biggest hurdle is for getting students to school or online?
We talked about I don't know if there's a big one, biggest one, Dr. Hassan?
Well, one thing that I would say is that in the past, we said if your child, if they don't have a fever, send them to school. But since COVID, if children are just a little bit sick, have sniffles, or just have a cough, their parents are much more likely to keep them home than they have ever been in the past.
It's a national trend. It's a national trend. Chronic absenteeism is way up across United States.
So, I was going to say, so to that, if they have just the sniffles and things like that, are we giving them the option to do online work so that we're not, if they're not sick enough to just have to stay home, from the sniffles, is there something that we can give them to where they can do an online version of the classroom? Every time, if I kept my kid home every single time they had the sniffles, I think I'd be homeschooling my kids at this
Right.
point,
So that came up. That's something we talked about. We'll have to see how compliant we are with Illinois State Board of Education. A variety of things popped up. I think maybe transportation, especially the children who have to walk. And so we talked about that at our meeting on Friday. We brainstormed that. So in the winter, if it gets cold, then they just don't come because they have to walk. Especially the ones who are just 1.2 or below. So we've had a lot of conversation about that. We're actually putting some things in place. We're going to pilot some things. The principals are going to give names to the executive directors, and I think we've identified seven buildings? There were 7 buildings we identified. See, I'm remembering. 7 buildings we identified, and I think every building will provide 5 names of children who are in that category, and do something about transportation for them, and then monitor that.
I get an update about a lot of the schools in certain areas, and that seems to have very low absenteeism rates. So it sounds like if we're at an overall for the district, I would bet that most of those schools that have that big of absenteeism, it's because they don't have a lot of transportation. Like not a lot of buses go to those schools to begin with. So.
And it varies. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to ask, because each one, can you, Ms. Brooks, you had your hand up quickly, and then we'll have Dr. Molson. Based on your schools,
And Mr.
a lot of my schools are the K-8s, so a lot of the K-1 students don't come when it's cold outside.
Right.
Parents are not walking, especially if they have other children that they have to push a stroller, and it just gets difficult for them to get the smaller kids to school.
Okay.
And so we're seeing a lot of that. We're also working to provide other alternatives to suspension, to try to keep the kids in school, a school within a school. We're trying some of those alternatives as well, to try to just keep the kids in the school that are coming. But we really need to make sure that parents understand that if school starts at 7:30 and you bring your kid at 9:30, quarter to 10, it's a half a day.
It's a half a day, yep.
It's a half a day's absence. And so those half a days add up. And so we just really want to be diligent about getting kids to school on time and making sure they're there and ready to learn.
I'll be excited to see what your guys' plans are. I know you guys said you're going to meet and discuss maybe some more transportation options and things like that, but I really do think that that is a piece that a lot of families are struggling with, especially in inclement weather. In Peoria, it doesn't have to be just cold, but when it's raining and things like that, I knew if I had to walk my child 4 blocks in
Yeah.
the pouring down rain, I probably wouldn't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially if they have the sniffles, or if they're, if somebody has something like that, you don't want to make it worse. So I'd be curious for that. I know, Miss Board Member McConnell, did you have something that I thought I heard you?
Yes. I think it's prudent that we look at the buildings. In the last couple of months, there had been some incidents in a certain part of the city that has created great fear for parents sending their students to school walking. And I do understand we have a 1.0 boundary rule, but I think we may have to modify that and focus on some safety issues that some of the parents may have, some of the students, especially as the winter months are here, and if there's any after school activities, and these students have to walk. I would be concerned about any age child, and especially primary students and middle school students who would have to walk early in the morning, but not so much as for weather, but more so for safety. And I think we have some areas that used to have busing and they don't. And I think we need to think outside of the box when it comes to not only is it distance, but then is there any safety, concerns that a parent might have in sending their kid out. We had an incident a week ago, and that causes me to pause, and I'm sure so many other parents as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Molson?
Yeah, I would just echo the same things about safety within that 1.5 miles and the inclement weather. That's a lot of what we're hearing. Also at the primary schools, we're trying to put in more at the tier 2 level. So when students hit that 5 days absent mark, principals reaching out to the parent and drilling into, okay, what's the true barrier?
Right.
Is this something we can help you problem
Right.
solve? So just getting more intentional about getting to what the barrier is and trying to problem solve.
Before we get to 18,
Yes,
getting it,
yes.
nipping it in the bud by 5.
Yeah.
Another thing we're going to do also, we talked a lot about, is coding. We think we are probably cutting our nose to spite our face. So actually, Jen, we're going to talk to you about some interpretations about the school code, minutes and those sorts of things. So we were just curious in terms of our structure, our scheduling structure and minutes and those sorts of things. So that will be an interesting find as well. We do have a sheet. Actually, we looked at even SIP days, because we have, 2 SIP days? No, I'm sorry, 4 SIP days. So we were looking at making them 2 full days instead. But that SIP day, it's actually considered a full day. And so it would not benefit us at all. And so we're like, okay, we checked that one. We can't do that one, but we have a long list of things that we're going to do to look at and then make some adjustments, including our attendance intervention plans and when the interventions are pushed in earlier rather than later.
Dr. Mawson, you said with transportation by 5. What did you mean by fifth grade? Is that what you were talking about?
Yeah,
I'm
five
sorry,
in-
once they miss
5 days.
Oh, 5
school,
5 days.
they start interventions, or at least reach out. You know, maybe a student was out sick, and you know, like my daughter had mono earlier in the year. Okay, but she's going to be there the rest of the year, right? So that's different than somebody who's missing because of a transportation issue or a problem in the family that we could maybe help solve so that it stops.
Okay.
And we even talked about if they missed the bus, transportation going back once they're done, picking them up. So we talked about that as well. So I felt good about some of the strategies that we discussed on Friday, and we've begun implementing those. Because, yeah, we don't like that 40%, and we're going to work hard to get it down.
Mrs. Ross.
And then Mr. Wilson has his hand up as well.
Go ahead.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay, because Paris had brought it up, I was gonna kind of wait to kind of bring it up, but I think, what was, so the first thing is the buses and the school safety. So we did have an incident last week, you know, regarding a student that was walking home from school. And I see that we're serving the whole child. We have a lot of different wraparound support after and during. And we're doing a phenomenal job with the way that we keep the schools safe. You know, we can't control, Peoria Public Schools can't control the violence that is happening around, inside of our community, around our schools. But what I would like to see, and we have our director of security here as well, who might want to chime in on this as well, but something done to some extent to where it's almost like a collaboration between police, parents, teachers, community-based organizations to create safe passage kind of program within some of these high violence areas, right? Maybe putting adults that are assigned to a specific route to ensure almost like the safety of said child or children as they walk to school in these high places. I do think some type of communication needs to be had, you know, and something needs to be formulated. I don't quite know what. I don't know where funding,
Yeah.
all that good stuff will come in.
We had, and I think you'd be great at it. I don't know if you remember Dr. Molson a couple of years ago, and it came up that Cheryl and Tom talked about safe houses, you know, like when you have a neighborhood watch sign. And so when kids are walking to school, do you remember that idea?
And the walking school bus, remember?
And then the
That-
walking school bus
that was
as
a good
well.
one, too.
So let's take it offline and then maybe see if you and your team, Yanni Collective, and your team could take it and maybe make it, you know, materialize, make it,
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
it's just putting a sign up saying this is a safe home. If on your way to school, you can come to this house or the walking bus. Annie Jo did it. Annie Jo did it a couple of years ago. You want to share a little bit of what that looked like?
Yeah, and Lincoln as well.
And Lincoln did it?
And so it was just an adult that would walk, you know, a certain route and pick up kids along the way, and they're all, I mean, literally, it's a walking school bus, you know, that's supervised and to keep the children safe, so.
Was that a
Absolutely.
volunteer? Was that a volunteer? I'm sorry. Was that a volunteer
I-
position or was that a?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I think it was
I'll
a
have to-
volunteer
I think
position,
it
but
was.
we can, yeah.
I'd have to go back and check, but yeah, it was successful, so.
Yeah.
It's another strategy.
So we can.
Yeah, so that's awesome, and we'll love to be a part of it, you know, as well as from the community-based organization part of it. But also, we need to tie in like Peoria Police Department, the parents and the teachers, you know, and what that looks like, you know. Just want to make sure we're providing that. Chicago has a similar program that maps out different routes for these high crime areas as well. So that could be like the model
Yeah.
type project that we look at.
We have the routes, but sometimes they don't follow the route because it might be a little longer. You
Absolutely.
could just cut through, right? And
And just a couple more things, 'cause I know, you know, time and everything, but the increase in school resource officers should and can help with attendance. That 40.5% there, when you have school resource officers, in every building, you may then be able to free up some of those responsibilities and finding out which kids are missing, which kids are absent, what's going on in the home. So hopefully that increase in school resource officers can help bring down that attendance if we're intentional about it,
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
And then going back to what Paris said with the buses, I know in 2016, we did have school buses that were kind of closer than that mile. What's the, I don't know what it is. Is it 4
1.2.
miles
It's
or 4 blocks or something like that?
1.2.
Okay. And the district had picked up the cost for that, but in 2016, we stopped picking up the cost for that. So, I mean, so we have Lincoln Terrace, Harrison Homes. Those are two areas where you can say it's kind of high violence areas, right? And there's really no buses there unless you have an IEP. So I'm just curious, as we talked about that bus situation, which Paris had brought it up first, is there a way that we can kind of look at that? Now, that may help with that attendance and may or may not help with the safety and overall safety of walking to school, versus standing on the street waiting on a bus. But we picked it up years prior, 2016, we stopped. Is that something that we can revisit again to help address this 40.5?
Yeah, so we talked a lot about that as well. It's an ongoing conversation. The initial rationale in 2016 was limited buses, limited drivers, and then what you were getting reimbursed for, knowing that transportation was in the red and continues to be in the red. And you can add to that, Mr. Willis. So you get it's all based on what you get reimbursed for. I would love to do it. Let's say, Karat, hey, we don't care whether we get reimbursed or not. Let's do it. But then the other challenge is having enough drivers to do it with the shortage that's going on. So, and that's why we brainstormed, and Josh was with us. Our meeting was held at Liberty. They did a nice job hosting us, and they were amazing. Would be to identify 5 kids in that area that with chronic absenteeism that is out of control, and pilot providing transportation for them.
Awesome.
Because every day they're doing a balancing act with the schedule that we currently have.
Yes.
So when you do that, we're adding more drivers and more buses as well. Mick, you want to add to that? And of course, it won't be reimbursed. So it was all about not getting the transportation fund further in the red, which we've improved.
Absolutely.
But we are looking at it because I'm sensitive to it as well. When I first got back, Ms. Ross, you may remember, and I got it because remember, many of you know I spent 9 years at the Urban League. So we had the kids at River West, which was the old Warner Homes, they weren't eligible for transportation. They used to have to walk. There was this little bitty kid, this little, right, kindergarten. I'm like, in my mind, I did not even feel good about. I'm like, okay, let's bite the cost for that one. And so they're being transported because there's MacArthur right there. So MacArthur is a major thoroughfare. So we've made some of that adjustments, but we can do it. But I think we can do it. We'll have to be able to attract more drivers and eat some of the cost from.
So can we then, as we just move forward, is it safe to ask for some type of review of a safe passage type situation? And I don't want to throw people just out there, but I think the director of security, Boone, can work. I don't know how that works together. But then also,
He's pretty responsive.
yeah. Cool. And then also, just revisit that. I know you said that at Liberty, there was that meeting in 2016.
Not at Liberty,
Okay.
just in general.
Just in general? Yeah, if we can just revisit it. I mean, if we could just have some kind of, maybe as a board, an update.
We did on Friday, so as I said, we'll need more
Mr.
drivers, which we're short on anyway. And then, those will not be reimbursable, but I would be happy to give the board an update.
Yeah, just kind of
But I
share
think
so
it's
we
worth,
can.
we talk about it all the time, so it's worth having that conversation and giving an update.
And then the final thing, for that safe pathways type safe passage program, can we please make sure whatever plan that we can kind of formulate includes everyone, because it's not we can't control the violence that happens in our community. I'm not
Right.
putting us out there like we have the end all be all
Right.
for what's going on. But I just want to be proactive, and making sure that we're collabing with different entities, because everyone wants these students walking home safe. Everyone wants these students getting to school safe. So I think it's something that everybody can buy into. We just got to kind of start that process. And I'm here, so whatever's needed from me, on the front line, for sure.
I appreciate it,
Yeah.
and I appreciate your passion. Can we ask Boone to, Director Boone, to maybe make some?
Mr. Chair.
What can-
You know what? Go ahead, Board Member McConnell.
I was next.
I
That's
was
okay.
thinking that since the district has a fleet of smaller white buses that is generally utilized for athletic, that I believe that smaller bus requires a different kind of licensing in terms of transporting children. And we do have several bus drivers who are retired for so many reasons. But I am very concerned about the students that are in Lincoln Terrace and the students of Treatwin and then Harrison. And I don't think we need to keep having conversations about whether or not we can do it, but that we should. And then lastly, I heard mentioned earlier that thanks to State Representative Booth, we were able to garner some extra cash and some funds. And we've just got to be serious, and we need to understand how critical it is that there's a population of students that are in need of safe transportation, and it has to be a priority. Lastly, through the Department of Transportation, there's so many grants out there, and this might be something that can be looked into about safe routes to school. It's a federal fund, and then it's also state funded. But we just have got to take this serious, and it can't be something that we can keep kicking a concept down. It's just a fact that many of these students are very uncomfortable walking, and parents are. And if we want to see, I think it's worth our investment, and we need to allocate some funds like right away, come up with a schedule, try to get some part-time drivers in. And if that means we have to utilize those smaller district buses, but we've got to do something, and we need to do something quickly. And we've got enough time. This is November to come up with some kind of strategy. So when we go on winter break, we know we have an action plan to put in place come January. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Ross.
I just want to dovetail on what Mr. Wilson said about working with neighborhoods. I think that the best kept secret are neighborhood associations who have been working on this kind of thing. As far as the south side of Peoria, at one point, we had people, we called it, watching for kids with coffee. Walk outside with your coffee as kids walk. So I would encourage you to work with neighborhood associations as well and get them involved, because these are the people who have the kids in our schools as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to go back to the Black History curriculum. I didn't really get a clear understanding of, last year, the curriculum for the 11th grade high school was suspended for 1 year. Is that going to be re-implemented this year? So supposedly it was suspended for 1 year.
It was not suspended. I think the design was a
Oh, it
different,
was suspended for 1
different
year. It's in the
design.
minutes.
Yeah.
It was suspended for 1 year.
Okay, so we'll give an update. We'll meet with the group and we'll give an update.
Okay.
Okay, so, and then the K through 4 was supposed to be implemented, and I didn't hear anything about that being implemented yet as well.
Well, it's not on the agenda. One of the things we agreed upon if our working agreement is, if we don't want any gotchas. If there are any questions and things that you're thinking about, let us know in advance and we'll get it to you. And I did say when Mr. Wilson brought it up that Dr. Hassan will give a presentation on financial literacy and BH 365 on the 27th of November. So anything that you want us to talk about, we can address it there, but that was not part of my presentation. It was to give an
No, I
update.
was just
Okay.
following up on what he was asking. It's not a got you by any means. I just wanted to follow up to make
But
sure
we can
that-
add it to the presentation on the 27th, if that's okay.
Okay, and the other thing, I wanted to make sure that we, as it relates to absenteeism, that we figure out how to work with, how to have parents as partners in this, because I didn't hear a whole lot about how parents are being encouraged or, involved in making sure that our kids come to school.
Yeah, if you have
Other than
ideas.
just calling them.
Yeah, if you have ideas, we're open to it, but a lot of the schools are doing a lot of boosters for the parents. If they send their kids, 10 days or 2 weeks or even a week, they're going to be receiving, they'll be placed in a raffle to receive some pretty cool gift cards, $50, and nothing small, but a significant amount. And those were some of the things that we're working with Dr. Bush on. Do you remember anything else for the parents? And going to the communities and garnering their support so that we can collect those items and just motivate parents as well and give them something.
Doing individual conversations with parents,
Yes.
really explaining the importance of school. Sometimes when children are younger, parents don't necessarily, they think like, okay, well, you're in kindergarten, first grade, if you miss a couple days, it's not really that important. So really having individual conversations with parents in small groups. So we'll have some individual, some small groups, and even some larger groups to really explain the impact, short-term and long-term, on reading and math proficiency, as well as graduation rates. So
And
that's-
you've made some phone calls already, right? You and I know Ms. Brooks have,
Yes.
and Ms.
So
Rose.
Yeah, I was just want to make sure that as we talk about absenteeism, that we really involve parents as well.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Yeah, and that's a good one, Ms. Ross.
And
But-
when we do those individual conversations, the parents are, those individual plans, parents are included in those plans because we want to make sure that we're putting things in place that are okay for the parent to do as well. And if they need anything, we want to make sure we're providing those things.
And they sign off on it as well.
Right.
So once it gets to a certain level, Ms. Rose, were you
Right.
going to say something?
Yeah, I conducted parent meetings and I show them the impact that it will make on their learning and the things that they'll be missing as far as their preparation for the next testing cycle.
Yeah,
I
and
just
that's,
thank-
yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. I just wanted to make sure that we included them in the process. The last thing I want to say is as you began the presentation, when I first saw it in the news, I felt a little down because we always start with negatives. And I've often said for us to tell our own story, there has to be some positives about what we do that would trump the fact that we have 76% low income. So I'm just saying, that's part of the presentation, but I saw it in the news and then it's part of this presentation. But I don't really want our kids to only think that they can't learn because they may be a low income person. So somehow I think we just need to do a better job of telling our own story, what we're doing, that all the good things you all are talking about should not be by something negative.
Yeah,
That's all I have to say.
Thank you. And Halima has done a really nice job putting some of the positive things on social media, and I think you referenced it as well. And Ms. Ross, you're right. It's a fight in battle. It's what strategy 4 of a strategic plan, highlighting. But you know, Ms. Ross, we are proud of who we are. The last slide I said, right? It doesn't matter zip code. It doesn't matter economic status. It doesn't matter race, creed. We are going to do what we have to do.
It should be
And
the first slide, though. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Let's say it first.
Yeah.
Because
It was first, and then I put it last. I wasn't sure where to put it.
All
So,
right.
but got you. Thank
you.
you.
At this point, just in time of.
Ms.
Okay.
Costick.
one more presentation.
Yeah, we have another
Okay,
presentation.
I'll make it quick.
Mhm.
In talking about the safety of students and everything, what I'm thinking of is that a way to get parents together and to know that the district is on board and we realize that there is a problem. I know things are being done individually at schools and everything, but possibly we do those town hall meetings and bring together ideals from parents, you know, and not just on, you know, a lot of times when people are in a group, ideals come together when one person says something and another parent might think, well, yeah, but why don't we do this? So maybe that's something that we can do, and it tells the community that yes, we as a district are very concerned with the safety. It's great for what's going on with the principals and everything, but I think as a whole, we need to open it up to the public and you know, kind of get their input and see who's willing to do what.
Yeah. I mean, that's good. Overall, what I heard from them, because I remember in 2016, we had the town halls at PCCO, a community group did it. I think, Ms. Ross, it was Southside. Remember,
Southside
Rob, you and
Community
Robin,
United.
and every Saturday, they had a different speaker. And so I met with them several times, and essentially what we're saying, they want transportation to those children in that area, whether they are half a mile, a mile. So that's really what they want. Now, we can again take a look at what can we do with the workforce that we have in that department, and knowing that some of those costs will not be reimbursable, and then you know, going back to the safe routes, the walk-in bus idea, some of those things, and say, okay, these are the things that we have. What are you? And then Ms. Ross's idea about the neighborhoods, you know, kind of put something together and then see who's willing to do what. So there's some merit in revisiting that as well. Is that what you're thinking? Yep. Thank you.
All right. Moving on to our final presentation, the IDG architects.
Good evening, everyone. First, I'd like to take a moment to thank the distinguished members of the Board of Education, Dr. Karat, the district administration, Mr. McWillis, for all the great work that you do. As a representative of IDG, I just want to state that we take great pride in opportunity to work with and for the school district. And we want to continue to deliver the highest level services that we possibly can. With that said, again, I'm Aaron Gunn with IDG Architects. I have my colleague here with me, Cotton Barry Burke. And we're here tonight to talk about the facilities master planning process. A little brief intro to IDG. We're a full service licensed architectural firm. We have over 70 years of combined experience in K-12 architecture. going on with the facilities master plan. Essentially, what a facilities master plan is, it's a process to identify short-term and long-term objectives and outcomes for PPS facilities and defining how those objectives and outcomes will be achieved. Facilities master planning done correctly will garner stakeholder support, and it will also align with PPS's overall strategic plans. You can go to the next slide. Thank you. The benefits of a facilities master plan includes more efficient maintenance of your facilities, and that's significant because, well, back in 2019, IDG participated in a assessment of your facilities, and we found that the average age of your buildings is about 25, actually 27 years greater than the national average, and about 24 years greater than the state average. So just with the age of your buildings alone, maintenance is a significant part of your facilities management. The next piece that's also very significant is you will garner community support, input, and feedback. There are many diverse perspectives and a plethora of knowledge in our community, and we really want to seize on that as an important asset for our school district. And beyond that, a facilities master plan will become sort of a living document that will be a baseline for continued facilities improvement for decades. You can go to the next slide. So a powerful facilities master plan is a process that we've developed internally at IDG, and there are four key components to that process. The first is research, then envisioning, followed by design, and finally execution. We use an acronym in our office called READY, meaning you are prepared or ready for the future. You can go to the next slide. We utilize a scientific process to produce evidence-based solutions, taking into account typical research methods, quantitative research methods, gathering hard data and known facts and analyzing that data, qualitative research methods, utilizing soft data, observation, interaction, to help interpret the hard data. We've been known to go and sit in cafeterias during lunch with school kids, walk the hallways during class changing, just to see how they circulate through the building as a part of our process. We can go to the next slide. The second step, envisioning, which is basically creating a shared vision through understanding those diverse perspectives that I talked about earlier. We use engagement sessions with key stakeholders, and those are typically led by a steering committee, so that would need to be established in order for an effective master plan to be executed. And we list a few of the key stakeholders that would need to be engaged. District administration, building staff and faculty, district families and students, elected officials, the business community, community-based organizations and leaders. And we typically take one or two people from each category to establish a steering committee to really dive deeply into the envisioning process. You can go to the next slide. Thank you. The next slide talks about design, which is what we do. We're professionals at that. And essentially, during master planning, you create conceptual designs through establishing and prioritizing the master plan's design elements. Typical design elements include modernization of buildings and adaptation of technology, building safety and security, enhanced learning environments, community engagement, building maintenance and sustainability, and standardization of systems and components, as well as space utilization. We recommend establishing subcommittees to deeply explore each design element and also to prioritize each design element so that we can really focus on what's important to the school district. You can go to the next slide. Finally, we end with execution. And we want to create a living document that again becomes a baseline for continued improved facilities maintenance, as well as conducting feasibility analysis to help us define project scopes, also to do realistic cost estimating as we develop projects that come out of the facility master planning process. And we also recommend construction delivery methods, create design standards for future projects, and we help to identify sources of funding. Thank you. The typical timeline is 9 to 12 months for a school district of this size. And we kind of break down each phase, how long it would take to complete each one. We can go to the next one. The typical cost for a school district of this size would be $500,000 to $600,000. And the services included would be evaluation of all facility systems and components. That would also take care of all engineering and other professional consultants that would be needed. Cost estimating, planning, and review sessions with all key collaborators. Next slide. And our planning approach is community-oriented, sustainable design, people-oriented approach design, and we utilize our experience and also our high-end design capabilities. And these are a few projects that we recently completed in Springfield, Illinois, which were conducted through a facilities master planning process. We had, or actually I had the opportunity to participate as a member of the project management team, and IDG executed 3 of, I think, over 20 projects that came as a result of the facilities master plan in Springfield. We're pretty proud of those. I think they came out very well. And thank you. I tried to keep it short and straightforward. I know we've been here a long night, so love to take any questions you have.
Thank you very much for that presentation. I'd like to open it up. Do any board members have any questions or comments?
I just have a comment. Being here, as long as I've been here, I've participated in previous enhancements, building of 2 new schools and building onto one that we already had, and just the excitement of the kids being in a facility that is an ample facility for them to learn and grow, and not just the kids but the staff and parents appreciate that. But this came out of the Buildings and Grounds Committee, this presentation, because so often we are reacting to what needs to be done. And I think that we somehow have to get in a proactive mode where I believe your company did an assessment already.
Correct.
And if you knew some of the things in that assessment, where we are just throwing good money after bad on some of these buildings, you'd be surprised. But the fact is, I think at some point, if we have a plan in place and money become available like it did before through the state, we're already ready to jump right into that. So that's one of the reasons why we asked to share with the board what it would take for a master facility. Any comments on yours?
Thank you. Mr. Wilson?
So what are the next steps then, I guess, from here? We heard the presentation, just curious. I didn't see any next steps listed.
Well, we asked for a presentation to the board so they would know what it entailed. And then our committee would go back and just see, look at what's next, working with Mr. Willis as well.
Okay, cool, thank you.
He's on the committee. He and Brandon both are on the committee.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, at this time, I'd like to move on to presentation by audience members. An individual may address the board at this time for no more than 5 minutes, with further time allotted as appropriate at the discretion of the chair and with the concurrence of the majority of the board. Total time on any one subject shall exceed 20 minutes only at the discretion of the chair and with the concurrence of the majority of the board. Each speaker will fill out a request to speak at the Board of Education card and present it to the board secretary before the meeting begins. So at this time, I would like to please ask Jess Hill to come up to the podium.
Good evening, Dr. Demolin Karat and the Board of Peoria Public Schools. I'm Jessamine Hill. I was born and raised in this town. Unfortunately, I didn't get to attend any of these schools because I was homeschooled from 1991 to 2003, and the rest of my siblings were all homeschooled, those born between 1983 and 2004. The following year, in 2004, I earned my GED, and then went to ICC, and then later on went to Midstate. Now, this year marks 20 years I was no longer homeschooled, so I took some of the negative baggage I had to put up with when I was a kid, including my public relations skills, and turned it into something positive. The Central Illinois Homeschoolers Resource Guide. This is the premier issue I self-published. I came up with this idea because I found out even homeschooled kids who want to get a high school diploma can enroll at Central, Richwoods, Manual, even Woodruff prior to 2010. And even the public school kids can utilize this. This book, it mentions extracurricular activities in this town, such as the symphony orchestra, local tutoring places, and also profiles on prominent Peorians, such as my grandfather, the late Reverend Offutt, and a local TV personality. I have some copies for y'all on the board if you want to read it. So if anybody would like a PDF file of this, I have this available in PDF. You can contact me at jhill85713@gmail.com. That's JHILL 85713@gmail.com. And also, out of concern of juvenile offenders stealing cars and playing with guns, I think the resources in this book can give them something to do. For example, I'll bet you folks didn't know at the age of 14, you can get a permit to get a job, say work 16 hours a week while going to school, and they can buy themselves a car and they won't have to steal a car. Think about that.
All right.
Yeah, so I showed this to a lot of other folks in town, even Peoria City Council, and many folks are impressed by it. Next year, I plan to expand to our neighbors across the river and to include kid-friendly LGBTQ resources and a lot of other things for parents and kids to utilize.
Thank you.
And that's my guidebook.
All right.
Nice.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Do you have copies or something that?
Right here.
Yep.
Is this something that you can pay for?
No.
Or you just give them?
I just give them away, so.
I'll take one.
Okay.
If you want to give it to Miss Cammy or yeah. Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. And now we'll have response to audience presentation.
Ms. Hill, thank you for joining our meeting today. I already love your personality. And most importantly, I love how you said my name. I think you've had some French. So that's awesome. And I'm thinking, we do a lot with homeschool families as well. They can have free access to Edgenuity with Peoria Public Schools and Acela, so they don't have to pick up any of that cost. And Barb Clausen is our online person, so I would love for the two of you to connect. I do have your email address, 85713@gmail.com. I got the other part. So Barb will follow up with you, and yes, I did know at 14 our kids could work as principals. Well, the children know as well. They want to get a job because they want to make some money. So thank you, and we'll follow up with you to see if we could collaborate with you, because PPS has actually quite a bit. They can still be part of band. They can be part of the basketball team, any extracurricular activity, plus have access to the curriculum if they would like to go that route, and still have access to scholarships too. So thank you again for coming.
You are welcome. And I might want to add, no, I don't have children, but I got peers who have children and I care about them. And if and when I decide to have them, I want them to have positive experiences too and to make a difference.
Love that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, at this time, can I please get a motion to approve the minutes from September 25th, 2023? Madam Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Costick? Mr. Claus?
Aye.
Mrs. McConnell?
Aye.
Dr. Ranking? Mrs. Ross? Mr. Wilson? Mr. Wilson?
Aye. I'm sorry.
President Murphy?
Aye.
We have 7 ayes. Motion carries.
Thank you. This time, under information items, I'll go ahead and invite our superintendent for a superintendent update.
Well, I gave my presentation and I recognized the board, and so it's been a long meeting. So that was my superintendent update. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I got a resounding yes.
Next, financial update, budgeted, encumbered, expended, balanced, percent balance. Any questions?
The superintendent, her presentation on the superintendent's update is going to be difficult to beat in terms of time, but I will get as close as I can. Year-to-date receipts through November 13th of 2023 was $80 million, up about $20 million since October 23rd. Primary contributors there, corporate personal property replacement taxes and evidence-based funding. On the expenditure side, year-to-date receipts, 89 million, up, or expenditures, 89 million, up about 23 million. Typical employee costs, salaries, and benefits, and then we did have a fair amount of capital projects spend. If we have any questions, I'd be happy to entertain those. Otherwise, that is a summary of finances year-to-date through November 13th, 2023.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Seeing none, moving on to any questions on proposed expenditures over $2,500? Seeing none. Number 4, report of requests under the Freedom of Information Act and status of such requests.
Thank you, President Murphy. Since our board meeting on October 23rd, we've received 5 new requests. There were 2 pending requests noted on October 23rd. Of those, 0 request remains open. We have received 98 requests for the calendar year at a total cost of $4,900. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on now to the consent agenda. Dr. Rankin.
The consent agenda consists of number 1, gifts to school, year to date, 106,195, 106,195.31 cents. Donation of $1,400 by ACEC Illinois for school supplies for Franklin. Number 2, payment of bills. Number 3, payment for travel. Number 4, human resource report. Number 5, Cartwheel Health Services PC. Number 6, Art of Education University curriculum for K-12 art instruction. Number 7, temporary easement to the Greater Peoria Sanitation and Sewage Disposal District. Number 8, Peoria Stadium Dome artificial turf project. And that concludes the consent agenda.
Thank you. Are there any items that any board members would like to have pulled for a separate discussion? Seeing none.
Yeah, I do. Number 8, please.
Okay. Only number 8. Are there any others? Madam Secretary, will you please call the roll on the consent agenda as presented except for number 8? Or do we do the discussion first? Sorry, discussion first. I'm sorry, on number 8. Go ahead, Greg.
Oh, yeah, for number 8.
Okay, I thought so. Okay, yeah, then I was right. Madam Secretary, please take the roll. Who's there? I asked if there was anyone that needed any discussion on any of the Do you want a discussion on one of them? Okay, Madam Secretary, will you please take the roll?
Mrs. Costick? Mr. Claus?
Aye.
Mrs. McConnell?
Aye.
Dr. Ranking?
Aye.
Mrs. Ross? Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
President Murphy?
Aye.
We have 7 ayes. Motion carries.
And then on number 8, the Peoria Stadium Dome, Mr. Wilson.
Yeah, I guess just a question, or maybe it might just need a little bit of clarification, but I did receive some feedback from some houses that's kind of in line with the stadium. Are you kind of aware where I'm going? Like, they were complaining about the stormwater drainage and it coming inside of a creek due to some of the work that's being done at the Peoria Stadium. Are you familiar with any? It's like a neighborhood association that's around there that kind of reached out via email to all the school board members. I had, replied back and spoke with them, met with them. And I know there was a letter, some stuff sent out, in regards to the work that's being done. I just want to make sure. I mean, everybody's in support of the work being done at the Peoria Stadium, but want to kind of see if we vote yes on this. I mean, this is just a bid for it to be funded, correct? Like, does this say the work's about to start, or we're just approving the bid?
Yeah, so,
And then I could just get with you on the back end.
yeah, let's get on the back end because there was one young man that's been emailing us quite some time, and we've been very responsive, and he's gotten the city involved and everything. We had a big meeting with the city, actually IDG, they were part of that meeting. The city and about 4 of their engineers were there as well, including Ross Black, Mr. Black, from the city anyway, and our side and our engineers, and brainstormed. A lot of the complaints were not our work, but because we want to continue to be good partners to all of our taxpayers and make sure that everything is being done correctly. There was a conversation about, I think they were concerned about a pipe that was too low or too
kinda
high,
running,
something,
yeah.
right? And so anyway, I thought the solution was fantastic, and Brandon was involved. Brandon Bell, Mr. Willis was there, and the city, we all agreed, and then they actually came up with a better solution, and he was supposed to talk with this gentleman. I did not realize. If we had known, because I would have sent some people with you to share what the remedy, what they were recommending as the remedy.
Awesome.
So the last time I checked with him, he was waiting on something from the engineers. But a nice follow-up with that neighborhood association would be fantastic, because I think they would love, I wouldn't call it a compromise, but the improvement based on their feedback.
Sounds great.
Yeah, so Mr. Willis, you want to add to that? If I remember correctly,
Yeah,
it's been about 2 or 3 weeks. And I did pull, when he emailed me, I pulled everybody. I pulled the city, I pulled our team, our engineers, our architect, IDG, they were there.
Awesome.
So there were about 8 or 9 of us at that meeting, and I was very pleased with the outcome.
Yeah, and the architects and engineers are working very, very closely with the city on everything that we're doing at the stadium, and we're making sure that the city not only is participating in those discussions, but if there are things that are that grab the attention of the city, we're working through those conversations with them, and so far everything's been good.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Appreciate that. I didn't know.
They need an
that
update
was
though,
going,
and
so.
that was the assignment to. I didn't realize there was anybody with him. I thought he was by himself to update. I call him Mr. R. Update
Yeah.
Mr. R. and
Yeah.
let him know. And I did email him, and I told him we met, and there's a nice recommendation to address his concern. I told him I think he would be happy about it, and I've not heard from him. So anyway,
Okay.
thanks for meeting with them, but I think Mr. Bell would be a good representative for the district to meet with them to give them an update.
Awesome. Yeah, that'd be great.
So Mr. Willis, you'll connect with. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Can I please have a motion to approve number 8?
So moved.
Thank you. Second. Madam Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Costick? Mr. Claus?
Aye.
Mrs. McConnell?
Aye.
Dr. Rankin? Mrs. Ross? Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
President Murphy?
Aye.
We have 7 ayes. Motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on now to the deliberation agenda. Who would like to read?
Yes, thank you, President Murphy. Item number 9, policy number 5:50, drug and alcohol-free workplace, e-cigarette, tobacco, and cannabis prohibition. Proposed action that the Board of Education approve the attached updated policy.
Second. Madam Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Costick? Mr. Claus? Mrs. McConnell?
Aye.
Dr. Rankin? Mrs. Ross? Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
President Murphy?
Aye.
We have 7 ayes. Motion carries.
Thank you. Item number 10, policy number 5:80, court duty. Proposed action that the Board of Education approve the attached updated policy.
Second. Madam Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Costick? Mr. Claus?
Aye.
Mrs. McConnell?
Aye.
Dr. Rankin? Mrs. Ross? Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
President Murphy?
Aye.
We have 7 ayes. Motion carries.
Okay. Item number 11, policy number 5:100, staff development program. Proposed action that the Board of Education approve the attached updated policy.
Second. Madam Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Costick? Mr. Claus?
Aye.
Mrs. McConnell?
Aye.
Dr. Rankin? Mrs. Ross? Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
President Murphy?
Aye.
We have 7 ayes. Motion carries.
Item number 12, policy number 6:135, accelerated placement program. Proposed action that the Board of Education approve the attached updated policy.
Second. Madam Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Costick? Mr. Claus? Mrs. McConnell?
Aye.
Dr. Rankin? Mrs. Ross? Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
President Murphy?
Aye.
We have 7 ayes. Motion carries.
Policy number 2:220, Board of Education meeting procedure. Proposed action that the Board of Education approve the attached updated policy.
Second. Madam Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Costick? Mr. Claus? Mrs. McConnell?
Aye.
Dr. Rankin? Mrs. Ross? Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
President Murphy?
Aye.
7 ayes. Motion carries.
Item 14, expulsion with the expulsion to be held in abeyance. Proposed action that the Board of Education approve expulsion with the expulsion held in abeyance listed on the report dated November 13th, 2023 be approved as presented.
Madam Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Costick? Mr. Claus? Mrs. McConnell?
Aye.
Dr. Rankin? Mrs. Ross? Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
President Murphy?
Aye.
7 ayes. Motion carries.
Item number 15, expulsion. Proposed action that the Board of Education approve expulsion listed on the report dated November 13, 2023 be approved as presented.
Madam Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Costick? Mr. Claus?
Aye.
Mrs. McConnell?
Aye.
Dr. Rankin? Mrs. Ross? Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
President Murphy?
Aye.
7 ayes. Motion carries.
Item number 16, suspension review. Proposed action that the Board of Education approve suspension review listed on the report dated November 13, 2023 be approved as presented.
Madam Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Costick? Mr. Claus?
Aye.
Mrs. McConnell?
Aye.
Dr. Rankin? Mrs. Ross? Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
President Murphy?
Aye.
We have 7 ayes. Motion carries.
Thank you. Presentation and suggestions by board members.
Just real quick. November 18th, there's a turkey drive at the Mecca Center in Peoria, Illinois, hosted by Product of the Projects. They just picked up 700 turkeys. So there are a lot of turkeys to give away. You can sign up at Product of the Projects. If you search that on Facebook, that'll come up. You can find the sign up link there. December 18th, November 18th. Yep. December 16th, the Yanni Collective, Councilman Andre Allen, Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce, and product of the project is having the third annual 309 Toys in the Neighborhood. We are looking to serve 1,600 children with gifts and some extra things as well. You can sign up by searching the Yanni Collective on Facebook for that as well. And then if you have the time, please get over to Manual. The Yanni Collective, along with others, has completed the Mind Over Matter 2 project, which we transformed the restrooms inside of the schools, put some positive quotes, inspirational words, encouragement, and it's going great. The students love it. We'll complete the boys over the winter break. Thank you.
Thank you. Great job.
I'd also like to point out that this weekend at the Veterans Day Parade, we had not only all three of our high school marching bands there, and they did an amazing job, but also Elise Ford Allen was there as well. They not only looked amazing in their new shirt uniforms that they have, the design of those, but they sounded amazing as well, and they did a really good job of representing Peoria Public Schools. Also, we had the Good Idea Council, which is spearheaded by Hetty Elliott, her and her students that are involved in that, and this is for any Peoria Public School students. They go on, usually on Sundays, and do some sort of different volunteer work in the community. They collect change, and they put them in their change jars called Change for Change. And they were actually asked to do the Pledge of Allegiance this year at the Veterans Day ceremony immediately following the parade. They did an outstanding job with that. And this weekend on Sunday, they went over and helped out at the Peoria Friendship House, handing out over 150 turkeys to families. Our students were out there holding bags, filling them with groceries for families, carrying them out to their cars. It was really a great representation for Peoria Public School and for that Good Idea Council. So, yeah, you could definitely do that. Any others? Reports from board from board committees. Do we have any updates? Seeing none, can I please get a motion to adjourn?